So let's talk about some mental and emotional habits that can make us a lot happier. It is estimated that we have about 40 to 70,000 thoughts per day. Some studies show that about 80% of those thoughts have a negative content, which is horrible. One quote that I have here is, "My life has been full of terrible misfortunes, most of which have never happened." I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. And also that about 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. The brain is somewhat lazy. It prefers an effortless way to go about life because it's trying to conserve energy. So your brain might be likely to think the same thoughts again and again when it comes. So when it comes to changing that, it could take some work, like we were referring to before. But if we repattern that over time, then that becomes the new automatic way, because it does like to go on autopilot. I know that if I ask you to just not think any negative things, or to just focus on positive things, that's probably not going to work for you, because our thoughts seem to be very hard to control. And every day we're not having an actual reaction to life. We're having a reaction to our thoughts about life. So this is why we all have a very different reality, because our perceptions are so different. So because our thoughts lead to our feelings, thoughts create feelings, and then that influences our energy and our behaviors, your entire existence, your whole reality is really dictated based on how you think about things. Your thoughts are affecting your emotions and your feelings, and then that creates your energy and your behaviors. So your thoughts are essentially responsible for painting the entire life experience that you have. So how to guide your thoughts if we can't just choose more positive thoughts or more positive ways of thinking about things? One way is actually a very hot practice that I'm sure you've heard of. I'm sure you've heard a ton about it, which is about developing a gratitude practice, meaning that you intentionally are putting concentrated focus on things or people that you're grateful for. Now, this intentional focusing of your thoughts on something positive ends up creating a positive emotional and physical reaction. Now, gratitude practices, just like taking a 10-minute walk, these probably don't sound like mind-blowing ideas. The thing is that they really benefit the people who do them. And for those who don't do them, they don't get the benefits. But the research says that for gratitude, that they get a tremendous amount of ROI on these really small choices. So let me try to sell you on it with one or two things. So they did one study where they had two groups, and they were one group was asked to write things that were grateful for and things that positive things that had happened during the week. The other group had to write about their daily irritations or things that displeased them. At the end of 10 weeks, I think this is amazing. Those who wrote about gratitude were more optimistic and felt better about their lives. And surprisingly, they also exercised more, and they had fewer visits to physicians than the people that wrote about their irritations and their aggravations. I think that's amazing. That when you could see the spokes on the wheel and how that emotional and mental shift was actually changing their physical bodies as well. Another study that was super cool showed people, there was a scientist that wanted to research a lot of different positive psychology techniques. So he encouraged people to use a series of different ones in a control group. And then there was a week when people had to write, their practice was to write a thank you letter to somebody that they had not thanked in the past, that they should thank or that they wanted to thank. And they just wrote them a letter whether they mailed it or not. And actually, this technique outpaced and outscored all of the other techniques that they tried, the positive psychology techniques that they tried with people, was writing a thank you letter to somebody else. And the benefits calibrated for an entire month. They had a difference for a month in their system. So one of the things that we know, that the effects of gratitude actually mimics the same as taking medications, because it affects your dopamine and your serotonin levels. So when people are grateful, they actually increase their serotonin and dopamine levels, sometimes to the same degree that medications can do for them. So we're talking about an incredibly simple practice that has a huge physical intervention, but that it is non-toxic, doesn't impact us in any negative ways, has no downside effects, and is all positive. And that's what we're looking for here. So let me give you a couple of examples of how to practice gratitude. One of them is to have a daily practice, to think of 5 things that you feel grateful for and why you're grateful for them. Now, if you do this, my suggestion is that you try to ritualize this practice. I like to use driving time in the car that otherwise is kind of empty time, as spiritual practice time, as gratitude time. So when I'm in the car, I like to turn the radio off sometimes. And that's when I'm doing my list of things that I'm grateful for and why I'm grateful for them. And you could choose to do that on the way to work, on the way home from work, so that you're doing it 2 times a day. Similarly, you can build a gratitude list like that in writing, which is very powerful for people to keep a gratitude list every day. Another way is to write a letter to somebody once a week that you feel grateful for. It could be just a paragraph. Remember those results from that study we got before, which is that these people experienced more happiness for a month because they had written one letter to somebody expressing gratitude. So that's significant. You can also thank yourself every day for making some positive choices. You can say, thanks, Beth. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for stretching yourself. Thanks for making that positive choice. Why not thank yourself? You can also thank your challenges for enabling you to grow stronger, wiser, or deeper. Like, gosh, I really hated that, but thank you. I know I needed that. I needed that lesson that really helped me to grow recently. And lastly, you could just sort of wake up and thank your day. I think this is an incredibly powerful process to just wake up and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just be grateful for your day. Thank you.